There we go. Okay. And boom. And away we go. Oh, how's everybody doing in internet land out there? Have a feeling it's going to be a chill Friday, since I am totally fried this week. Completely kicked the shit out of me. There we go. Get Discord open, because I'm just getting my stuff together. Alright. Oh, just pop over here. Alright, fine. You do your thing. Oh man, okay. Oh, that looks cool. Okay. Whew. Alright. Well, I think for today... There we go. Alright. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Just getting everything set up. It's also still shocking. Even though it's finally cooled off here in LA, it's finally just... You know, it's not like 115 degrees. It is still hot. And still, this room still decides to bake. And I've been editing all day today, so... It's like fastest way to be able to heat up a bedroom or like an office or any small room is have like 3 computers going at once in it. All right, well, let us see here what we've got going on. Oh yes, let me do that. Alright, cool. Yeah, I think most people are busy. It's going to be a short stream anyway, I think, because I am fried. I just need to get a little bit of, like, I haven't been able to get any screenwriting done. And my original goal was to have this script done before I go to Portland for the film festival. Because this was the other one that's kind of like sort of a Lovecraft adaptation. Not really. It's very light. It's a very light adaptation. So it's like, you know, it's more like an inspired by and less like a direct adaptation. So there's the fundamental conceit of the film, which is funny because Lovecraft got it from a film that he saw. I can't actually remember the name. The story is The Shadow Out of Time, but I think the movie he saw was a different movie. But it was the conceit he got from that movie, which I think is funny. So anyway, we are, my goodness. Okay. So yeah, my goal was to have all that done. And now I've got like next week. Next week is the week that I have to get a script done. I might actually be making the pitch deck alongside the script, because I then have to, it's actually kind of a cool deal, but I am traveling to Madrid. They're said the very last minute, but they decided to send me to Madrid for a week, and it's like right up until the film festival, so I'm going to be working in Spain and trying to like scramble to get all this stuff done before October 4th. So it's gonna be, and I'm sure I'm gonna have like I'm trying to send out pitch decks to everybody just to have them polished and sort of done beforehand. So I'm sure I'll have edits to those pitch decks. Is my assumption. But so it's gonna be busy. So I think it's gonna be a heavy work weekend and work week. We'll see if I can give myself like a day or two off to just try and relax a little bit before I hop on a plane and fly away. But much to get done. And I was trying to get work done on this short novella I'm writing too. So all the things, all the projects, in so little time. And also I blame Elden Ring for taking up a lot of my downtime, because usually when it's late at night and I don't have the energy to work, I just wind up playing Elden Ring a little bit to try to get through the DLC, which is very good, by the way. But I also really, really love those games. All right, cool. So we're good. It's quiet in chat, so I figure we will probably just dive in and try to get some work done. So, okay. I have a feeling the first half of the sprint is just me gonna be me just trying to get my head straight and out of like scramble mode. Whew. Since this week has been a mess. Actually, I should go get the book because I want to cycle through. All right, everybody. I think we're gonna just dive in and start our sprints. Probably gonna be a short stream. If anybody's watching this for VODs, probably only gonna be about 2, I think, since we started late. Because work was work. So let's just go ahead and get started. Maybe we'll see if we can squeeze in 3, but we'll do our best. That's all they can ask, right? That's all we can ask of ourselves, to do our best. All right. I'm gonna switch to spooky tunes for anybody listening out there. So feel free to mute if you don't want spooky sounds for the vibes. What do we want? What do we want to roll? I do really like this one. Let's get some good dark ambient music. All right, let's try this. Let's try that. Wait for the ads to go away. Oh, interesting. What is this? Song for Ansa? What is this? Oh. Oh, damn it. Alright, well, that looks cool. Alright, are we good? Okay, cool. Alright. Okay. Alright, let's get to writing, everybody. Happy writing. Happy words. Hopefully they treat you well, and we will see you on the other side. Away we go. Alright, everybody, there's the end of our sprint. Bring the music down just a touch. Just a touch. There we go. Alright, start the break timer. We did it. Not too shabby. It was slow. It was slow going, but we're getting there. I'm actually gonna finish the idea. Finish the idea really quick. Oizel redeem stretch. Thank you, Oizel. Thank you. Yes, stretch and hydrate. That is good. I actually might have to refill my water bottle. Oh, God. Oh. I've been stuck at my desk all week, and, like, the will to be able to get any writing done. Like, the last place I want to be is sitting at the desk. It's been brutal. Ugh. I still have not unpacked my bag from Baltimore last week. That's how ridiculous this last week has been. It's been nuts. Ugh, I need to... Ugh. Like, so many things need to be done. Maybe some old school pen and paper. Yeah, I think that might be... I was doing that earlier, because I have my journal, and I was doing that earlier just to try to, like, you know, like, keep some writing done, and that actually helped. That helped last week and over the weekend, but I think it's just because I've been doing so much editing work that, like, my brain is just fried. Like, everything's fried. Like, it just, even sitting... I haven't even been able to get back out, like, on my, like, my workout routine. Like, I think it's mostly just, I don't want to sit, but I don't want to, like, do anything, so I just end up melting onto the ground. It's been like that kind of week. But I might do that. I might do, like, some old school pen and paper. I think this weekend I might try to walk down to, like, there's a coffee shop down the road from me. I might just try to, like, go down to the coffee shop, sit and write with, like, a fountain pen in my journal, and, like, maybe that'll, like, help the feeling like I'm trapped, like, right at this desk. That would be good for the... Yeah, exactly. It's really just trying to... Even though this is my workspace, and I've kind of built it to be, like, inspiring and my vibe and, you know, the workspace, it's just when you're here all day for, you know, 10 hours a day for all day of the week, it can get a little... It can get brutal. Ugh. Whew, how goes the grading? How goes the grading, Oizel? How you holding up? It's a confusion of tasks as well. Yeah. Like doing work while in bed. Oh, yeah. I don't do that. I will read when I'm in bed. Like, if I need to read something or do something that's, like, reading, like a reading-oriented thing. If I read, I do not read for work. So if I'm reading, like, a screenplay, I won't do that in bed. Like, I purely read for pleasure when I'm in bed. That is something I am very disciplined about. Yeah, I definitely don't. Yeah, your body wants to sleep, not work. Yeah. I specifically do that because I have bad insomnia problems, so I very explicitly will only read. You know what's funny is I tend to either read old-timey, like, classic literature or hard science fiction when I'm in bed, like, particularly if I'm tired and that's kind of like I'm trying to, like, go to bed. I will read that because usually it kind of exhausts me to the point where I'm ready to go to bed. Makes getting through those books take a long time, but for whatever reason, that's what tends to actually, like, get me to shut my brain off. Is like if I'm reading, like, dense hard science fiction and my brain's just like, oh man, I don't want physics. Man, it's bedtime. It's like the best way to knock me out. I don't know why that works. I can't read manga or comic books. If I read manga or comic books, I'll be up all night. Sleep hygiene is real. Yeah, yes it is. No joke, Oizel. No joke. And I'm bad at it. And like, I'm already fighting an uphill battle because I have some sort of sleep problem that causes me to wake up after 4 hours. Like, I've consistently struggled with the fact that, like, I will just wake up 4 hours after I'd fallen asleep and be wide awake. It's just a thing that I don't know. It's happened to me for years at this point. It's weird. I don't really understand why my brain decides to do that. So I'm already like struggling sometimes to be able to get enough hours of sleep within a appropriate allotted sleeping window. Um, bedside reading is different from a beach read for a reason. There you go. Yeah, yeah, it's different for a reason. It's yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of I think that's kind of like I think because particularly when I was doing like philosophy and all that kind of stuff, I've always I've always been one of those, it could knock me out at a library. I'd be like studying and working on a paper, and you'd be going through and reading and like earmarking and all kinds of stuff, like various texts, and it's very dry stuff, and for whatever reason that stuff always was a good job at knocking me out, even when I was studying it. Like it could just, you want to read Kant? Kant will put you to sleep. Or Leibniz, yeah, Leibniz will do it too. Even if the ideas they're talking about are fascinating. Like if you sit and think about the ideas for a long time, that'll wake you up. That is like intellectually like stimulates the brain. But just reading that dry text is just murder. It's a great way to put yourself to sleep. Yeah, exactly. Philosophy in particular, or law. Yeah, I don't think I could do law. I think law would actually break me. I don't even think I could do it. I think that's why philosophy podcasts exist. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It's a good way to like distill it, make it entertaining. I mean, or Alan Watts. Yeah, Alan Watts was that man. That man was a great communicator. That man was probably one of the best, like, rhetorical, like, that dude could talk and communicate very complicated, particularly like while doing comparative philosophy. He could do. I think he probably has the best, probably the most insightful ability of like distilling down the core ideas of a very like deep philosophical concept that exists in like Taoism or Buddhism or Confucianism, or even Vedanta Hinduism or the Upanishadic Hinduism, and like distilling that down into a very digestible chunk. He was very good at that. The only problem that comes from that, though, is that it is ripe for misinterpretation and Western extrapolation. That's the only problem with Alan Watts, is that like I don't think he misunderstands the material, but sometimes, particularly a little bit more like the hippy dippy crowd, like the new age crowd, tends to take a lot of the stuff that sometimes Alan Watts says and goes to some weird places with it. So that's the only downside that comes from being able to kind of put it into like bite-sized chunks that are easy to grasp. Yeah. I particularly when I was doing comparative philosophy, going home and having some of my mom's like Sedona friends, like some of the dolphin. I call them the dolphin people, the people that hang out with the spirits of the dolphin, and believe that they have like a spirit animal in the ocean that they are communing with, and oddly still somehow revolves around sex, because of course it does in some way. Like they're like, it's a very strange, but anyway, they would always like say some shit about Alan Watts where I'm like, where did you get that? For what? Where are you getting this? And they're like, well, Alan Watts said this thing, and I was like, that's not what he meant at all. I don't know where you're coming up with this stuff. My ex-husband was enthralled with Alan Watts while also being a pretty strong libertarian. It was strange. I can see that. I mean, when I was going through my libertarian phase, my diehard anti-capital, not even anti-capital, anti-like state vibe. I guess it depends kind of like what vibe libertarian he was going. Was he like because there's definitely two different vibes. There's two different. There's the what I call what I think I was, which was generally politically uneducated white kid who grew up in the Southwest, particularly in a Southwest that was very influenced by like Goldwater Republicans and this sort of like maverick bullshit. So like we always kind of growing up in that culture, which is very like right wing, but also at the same time very like it's mostly anti government. And then there's like the libertarian. It's like libertarians are people who do not understand economics and understand how like society functions, which you could definitely throw me in that camp when I was like 17 and in high school, and because it was like you could be a libertarian or into like libertarianism, and generally because the biggest political issue of the time was the war, and if you were anti-war, that was like a viable way to be anti-war in a deeply right-wing state in a way. So like there's that, and then there's the weirdo like I mean they're all weird, like they all have weird beliefs, but like then there's like the online libertarian people that are like that are like talking about like I mean all libertarian economics ends in feudalism anyway, but like the real weird guys that are like we're going to start talking about how every law is a violation of nature, and then it always comes back to like age of consent laws, and you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Oh boy. There's like always that side of it too. So I guess it depends, because I could actually see a little bit of like the because Alan Watts had like flirted with anarchism, and anarchism obviously is not the same thing as libertarianism, but I can see where there might be some crossover, you know. Oh, he's from the Pacific Northwest. You know what? Them little logging towns are probably similar. You know what's interesting, Oizel, is you know what, that makes sense, because the Pacific Northwest has bastions of very like blue. You got Portland, you've got Seattle, but the outside small towns are just like rife with. I mean, not even like right wingers, like straight up neo Nazis. Like the Pacific Northwest and Northern California are just flooded with them. So like, just like I mean, like viscerally, like the vitriol, like vitriolic right wing is out there. So that actually makes so it makes sense. He probably thought he was pretty moderate. He's just like has these like libertarian leaning beliefs, but like he's just like, no man, I'm one of the cool ones, because he's like literally contending with straight up fascists out in the woods of like the Pacific Northwest. So that's it kind of always depends on where you're coming from, I guess. He was very intelligent, loved hard philosophical sci-fi as well. Okay, that tracks, yeah. But see, the weird thing is, like, I don't know, man. I fell out. I was into it, and I fell out so hard, so fast. I think once it's very easy to get wrapped up in that. And the moment you just, like, start being around poor people and start... all you need is... You just need someone to come in and teach you, or at least show you, like, anthropology and like systemic, like some form of modern systemic economic critique, and it pretty like anybody who still signs up to like libertarianism is a 13-year-old's idea of how economics and states and societies work. It's like you're a child, because it can only conceive of things in a vacuum. It literally cannot conceive of things. It's almost deeply utopian in its weirdness. So like I feel like there has to be a point at which you the moment the rug gets pulled out, you're like, oh yeah, that's stupid and makes no sense. Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me, maybe that's what happened to me, but that's definitely how that happened. But there's a crossover with that as well, because a lot of old sci-fi guys. Well, I was never on the even in my like libertarian days, I was never on the Ayn Rand train, man. I've never liked her. Jesus. Yeah, Ayn Rand is that's a special group of people that like the Randian group are interesting, because there are people that you could even like the things that people like attribute to Ayn Rand. If you like that, there are other philosophers and writers who argue for that and have positions on that are much better than Ayn Rand. Like, Ayn Rand herself is just kind of a deranged lunatic who spent most of her time high, writing bizarre, like, glorified man. I don't know. It was bizarre. I think she clearly thought of herself as like this modern Nietzsche, who also completely and utterly misunderstood Nietzsche at like every turn. I don't know. It's so bizarre. She's bizarre. But had let's see, he was very intelligent, but had some strange connections he made between his bits of philosophy and his beliefs. Yeah, I mean, everybody can do that. Yeah, we all sometimes we can have some weird crossovers. This guy wanted to get back with me after our divorce because he was afraid of getting with another woman out of fear she would accuse him of. I'm sorry, what? This was just one of his major phobias, and he wasn't a douchebag or anything at all. No idea why he was afraid, but weird. That is weird. That's a weird. I mean, I guess I understand a form of paranoia, but that's a really specific. You know, you know what? That is also like a child's idea of like. This is like a pet. Like, you know what? And I might be completely off base here, but that to me sounds like some guy who is deeply uncomfortable with a movement towards women being able to call out sexual predators and abusers with, I can no longer trust a woman because at any point she could just out of nowhere, out of the blue, just say that I did a thing and then it will destroy my life and everybody will believe her. Which is a type of paranoia that I think is more often than not exclusive to people who are generally not only afraid of women, but afraid of like, that have like a very skewed idea of how that relationship works in a way. Like very like they actually think that tends to happen and isn't like a 1 in a million thing that does, yeah, sure, it has happened. It has happened in a way that like, like extraordinarily rare things occur. It's not a thing that you need to be actively afraid of. But there's like, there's that culture, that mindset that like people become obsessed with this sort of like mentality. And they literally do think that like, oh well, women hold the power now, so they can literally destroy my life. It's kind of like it's a deeply uncomfortable feeling about having women be able to sort of establish like assert themselves as being like I've been victim, like someone was shitty to me, and then guys be like, oh, now that means they can always come after you, which it's like they're not going to if you're not a terrible person, like it. But that's where that paranoia comes from about like a sort of shift, and an ever so slight shift in power dynamics too. It's not even like a real shift. It's a very small cultural shift. It's not even really that. It's not actually. That's why there's still problems. It's because it's not a real power shift. Let's see. His brother once gave me a book for Christmas called "Why Liberals Are Stupid." Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I get that. What was it? I got handed a book that was written in the '60s that was called "None Dare Call It Treason," which was about the communist takeover of the education system and how it was written by an absolute lunatic, like definitely like MacArthurite, like wild man, for sure. I guess at least we should always be like, the one nice thing is like these people and the weird things they think have always been around. It's not totally a new phenomenon. They've kind of always been there. Or minimalist shrugged, yeah. Former military, I think it was influenced by his time too. Yeah. I mean, the military will screw you over, that's for sure. There's a reason we aren't together anymore. Yeah. I would say that would, for me, that would be, personally, that would be a red flag. If someone's just like, can we please get back together? I am terrified that if I engage with anyone else, they're going to accuse me of rape. And I'd be like, that's weird. That's something you should not be afraid of unless you're like deeply terrified, or just a lack of knowing yourself, I guess. I feel like paranoia might come from that too, as a lack of like understanding yourself and your own self-identity, maybe. Hey, Poison Dart, welcome in. I have. Oh, I just realized how long I've been babbling, Oizel. You got me on a tirade, Oizel. Talking about old school, old school. talking, making me reminisce about the strange times. I call it the Robert Heinlein times. You know, all those weird old sci-fi libertarian cranks. But we should probably dive into another sprint. But how are you doing? How you doing, Poison Dart? Before we dive into our next sprint here, yeah, how you doing? What are you working on? What's the cool thing? Is Oizel redeemed stand up and move? So stand up, stretch. Ooh, welcome in, Battle Comics. Welcome in. Welcome. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Before you get into the next sprint, move a bit. Exactly. All right, I'm gonna stretch. Ugh. Ooh. Hi, princess. I know. Hello. Hi. I know. Oh. Oh. All right. Ugh. I know. Hello. You want to come hang out? You want to come hang out while I write? Okay. I go over and I pet her, and now she is. I made her all uppity. She's all ready to tell us everything we've done wrong in our lives. All right. Alrighty, everybody. Let us dive in to our next sprint. Let me make sure that we're not going to get hit by ads in the middle of the sprint. I know. You're fine. I'm working on the same thing I'm always working on because I'm like, that's not boring at all, Poison Dart. But it is cool that you're working on the same thing. It just means you're working on it. I mean, these things take time, Poison Dart. Do not say that it's because you're boring. That is not true. Our works of art take time. Working on things, these things are important. Taking time to make sure that we get them right, that we craft them the way they need to be crafted. There is no shame in taking your time with a project. All right, let me see what we're going to play. Let's see what we got here. No, not that. All right. Let me go ahead and do... All right, we're just going to make sure so we don't get hit by ads. Pre-rolls are off. Cool. So I think we are pretty much good to go. All right, everybody. Time to get some words done. Happy writing, and we will see you on the other side. And away we go. Alrighty, everybody. That was the end of that sprint where I just beat my head against a wall. But hopefully, I see Oizel also was struggling that last sprint. Hopefully, other folks out there had a better sprint than we did. Let me start the down timer here. We're gonna run some ads, so we're gonna go ahead and run 3 minutes of ads. Step away, make yourself some tea, do whatever you need to do, and then I think we're gonna go ahead and run for a third sprint. I need to get more done tonight, so we're gonna do one more sprint. So this will be the last one. But yeah, prepare yourselves, psych yourselves out. We got this. One more sprint, and things will have gotten done, and then we can be proud of getting anything done. So, all right, we're gonna run ads, folks. We'll see you back here shortly. Lord knows I'm just planning and doing everything. I know. Poor Poison Dart, just like, I'm still here, still doing it. Don't worry, Poison Dart, we're all there. All right, we're gonna run ads. We'll see y'all back in 3 minutes. Hydrate, thank you. Oizel, definitely. I'm gonna go refill my water. So we'll see you back here in 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Oh. back from ads. Cool. All right, back from ads. No more rolling ads. Got my water. Boom. All right. Complete. All right. Trying to psych myself out. One more sprint, everybody. One more sprint. Hi, bud. They already got food, so. Okay, random question. All right, what's the random question, Poison Dart? Hit us with it. You got 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes for a rando question. And we'll see what the responses are. Oh, boy. All right. Oh, I like this track. What is this track? In Quantum. All right. In Quanta. Would it be considered rude if I base the country I based of Sudan poor, since technically it's like the poorest country in the world? Oh, you mean like in your fantasy? So if you're basing it off of, if you're making a poor country based on an actual poor country in the real world, which the Sudan is poor. I mean, no. As long as it depends how you do that, though. Like, all these things are dependent on how you do it. It's mostly like, I mean, if you're like looking at it as like if you're looking at it as a poverty in that country as a phenomenon of like of like a fantasy world, like you just want to have it, but don't just like, I wouldn't just, it's not a good idea to just lift it for no reason just because you're like, oh, it's the same, so I can just match it. Like, you'll want to be like, you want to like try to give considerations as to like, okay, why is this country poor? What's causing it to be poor? What are the internal strifes that come from it being poor? And there you can like draw parallels, but I wouldn't just like create an archetype of the Sudan and then make that the poor country. Like, you look at it for parallels and to inform how you would do it, but I wouldn't just like copy paste, if that makes sense. Like, I think copy and pasting just like, oh, this is clearly because you don't want to treat these things like a monolith. Like, these places are very complicated, and they can have very complicated they have very complicated histories, and there's a lot of reasons why places wind up the way they are. Particularly places like Northern Africa or areas that were formerly the Ottoman Empire. Long histories there that you kind of want to do your due diligence about before you just copy paste. I mean, obviously there will be reasonings, but like if I'm basing it off a poor country, it would just make sense for it to. Yeah. It can. Yes. Yeah, I mean, like, it depends kind of, like, if you're trying to come up with, like, okay, this is a poor country. I guess the way I would say is, like, if I'm basing it off a poor country, it would make sense for it to also be kind of poor. Sure, it could. But you have to examine why is it poor and what's causing, like, what are the conditions for it to be poor. So, like, the only thing I would be cautious about is just, like, assuming, like, it can become a very easy thing to do to just kind of, I mean, like, the Fremen in Dune is a good example of this. So, like, in the original Dune book, the Fremen are very clearly coded to be Middle Eastern. They're very clearly culturally, they're very clearly coded to be, like, this Middle Eastern inspired desert roaming culture. But obviously he puts a lot of like thought into this version, this science fiction fantasy version of what is clearly inspired off of Middle Eastern cultures. But he also tends to treat it like a monolith, which does not age well. It is not a good idea to do that. Now later on, they kind of like he creates like there's frictions internally in that culture in that country, and so like he expands on it to make it a much more fleshed out, less just like archetypal slash um uh kind of stereotype. I mean, it's essentially like a stereotype, yeah. Basically, let it be an influence, not a typecast. Exactly. I would say you can let it be an influence. Like, okay, like you want it to be in the desert. There's not a lot of water, so water's a problem. Like, so people having like access to clean water, um, that's all fine. Like, yeah, I mean that makes sense. Though, these are places where vegetation is sparse, so you get dead. That's not rude or mean. Like that just makes sense. Like it's absolutely reasonable to have a sort of a a, a, a country that can be lacking due to its lack of resources, which is it's doesn't have certain things that people need to survive. But yeah, I would not. I wouldn't just. I really would suggest against just copy pasting it. But if you're like, yeah, okay, Sudan, it's in the desert. There's not a lot of infrastructure there. So if you just want to copy those things, that makes sense because those are typical of many poor countries. So it's kind of like looking at that. You just kind of don't want to make it a direct. You don't want to make it a direct. So particularly in a fantasy world, you want to do that as little as possible because that can become very tiresome a little bit, and it can make people kind of like clearly like, oh, okay, that's clearly what we're doing. It's clearly this country or this thing. You see this a lot with Asian inspired things too, where it's like, oh, okay, this is clearly Japan, this is clearly China, even though it's not. It's a fantasy version of that. And you can see people do that sometimes really well. I'd say Avatar: The Last Airbender is an example of people that do that, kind of create a culture and a unique thing that are clearly inspired by Asian culture, but they kind of do it in a way that's much more interesting. It's self-sustaining. I mean, obviously, it's not a copy and paste situation, but there are places in my world that take inspiration from countries. Yeah, I mean that's fine. Yeah, taking inspiration, using it as an influence and building off of it, off of an influence. Being more media type countries in Asian. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so that's fine. Um, it's just but remember, like, even there's a lot of very poor Asian countries too, so you kind of want to look at, like, I would just say be very careful about how you go about doing it. Kind of what Oisel said, let it be an influence but don't typecast. Don't make it just like, okay, it's clearly just a bunch of it's just Africa, it's just a part of a very poor part of Africa. Like, I would suggest don't do that. I would say, like, maybe desert's fine. Lack of infrastructure. You kind of use like kind of the. You can look at the aesthetics and yeah, influence but not replicate. Exactly. Yeah, just don't copy. Yeah, do not. And I would actually suggest don't copy Europe or Asia too. Influence and use it as like a starting point to build your own sort of thing out of, but definitely don't just copy paste. So like if it's just like you just change the name but it's functionally London, like that's also not really a good idea either. You kind of want to, you can use London as a starting point. Okay, so like an island with that used to be essentially a seafaring empire, so it's a lot of money, a lot of wealth. It has like castles and all that kind of thing. So like yeah, something like that. Like those are ways that you can go about creating a fantasy version of like an actual historical place. A great way to think about it is how the trajectory of a culture might have changed given one thing. Like if there, oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's always a fun like little exercise in terms, yeah, or the slave trade or the Silk Road. Yeah. So I guess that would be my. I mean, we've gone way over time for this, but that's kind of a loaded question because it's something that is largely invisible and not a problem if it's done well, or something that is deeply problematic if it's done poorly. So that's the problem, Poison Dart. It's kind of it's you're kind of like walking like a you're kind of walking in between two things here. It becomes a little bit more complicated than just is it rude to base it off of it, because it's like, well, no, unless it's done poorly, and in which case it is rude, and really and kind of like and bad, and tends to perpetuate bad stereotypes or bad kind of judgments about a culture or a place. So that's why it's kind of a difficult question to like answer. Is that, yeah, if you're doing it in that way, then yeah, I'd say if you're just doing it for inspiration and kind of building off of that and doing something different with it, then yeah, there's no problem with that at all. There's no problem with using it as just a foundation to just kind of build off of and create your own unique thing. There's nothing, no, that's not a problem. But like, just sort of like making it too close to home tends to start to have some problems a little bit. All right, everybody. Let's dive in. Last sprint of the night. We got to get these words done. Let's do it. Hopefully the words treat you well. And we will see you all on the other side. Happy writing, everybody. Alrighty, and that is the end of that sprint. Hopefully the words treated you well that go around. Bum, bum, bum. Let me just bring the music down. Hopefully some progress is made. I think I made a little bit. I like kind of got there and then kind of not. So, oh my God, it's a bright poison dart. Right? It really does sneak up on you, doesn't it? I feel like I feel you, poison dart. Like that is 100%. That happens to me where I'm just like, oh wait, already? What? No, I'm not done. Ah! So I get you. All right, but unfortunately, that is where I am going to have to call it. So that is going to be the end of stream this evening. But I will be back tomorrow. Probably stream about 2 p.m. Pacific time. So it'll be like a Saturday day stream. And then we're gonna see whether or not I'm able to stream on Sunday. I'm not sure yet. But otherwise, we will catch you all on Saturday. But Poison Dart, I hope you were able to make some progress. I hope it worked out. I hope it worked. It's an uphill battle. I feel it. I get it. So, but other than that, I think I'm gonna call it and wish you all well. So take care of yourselves. I love you all. And be kind to yourselves and be kind to everybody else. And we'll catch you all tomorrow, all right? All right. Have a great night, everybody. Love you all.